Good morning, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley. My name is Reverend Kiya Heartwood, and I'm so happy that you all are here. My pronouns are she, her, and they. And today I've got on all black and green stole with blanket flowers on it. This morning we are very happy to see you all, and hope that you'll continue to wear your masks. We appreciate it very much. And now,
good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, or UUCBV, or for short, the Brazos UU Church. My name is Pam, and I'm your worship assistant today. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. We also strive to welcome people across diversities of race, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working for reproductive justice. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. So we have two announcements today. The first is Lunch and Learn, which is every Thursday from noon to 1. It's on Zoom. This week we have Professor Lena Denham, from Lynn, and she will speak about sending medical supplies to the Ukraine. So that should be really interesting. The Lunch and Learn link is on the calendar, and it's the same link every week. And then on Wednesday at 7:30, we have the Band Book Club. The discussion will be on the book Moss, A Survivor's Tale by Art Spiegelman. And this is a graphic novel about the experiences of his father as a Polish Jew and Holocaust survivor. And this book is banned from many school reading lists. It's a graphic, he's a illustrator, a comic, he does comics and other things like that. So it's not too late to read the book. I guess it's mostly pictures. And again, the Zoom link is on the interactive church calendar.
If you haven't got a copy of the book, there is a PDF of Mouse. If you would like to have it, just write Allison and she'll send you the link. And now if you open your gray hymnal, to number 318, we will sing "We Would Be One." The words are also up there.
We would be one, as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to an heart call, so praise your understanding of who we are, and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which finds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
And now a call to worship. This comes from third grade Marshall. Where you see wrong or inequality or injustice, speak out, because this is your country. This is your democracy. Make it, protect it, and pass it on.
Say our chalice lighting words with me, which are on the wall. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and the celebration of the life of truth and meaning we share together. Now all please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now we'll sing hymn 345 in the gray hymnal, and it's also on your screen. With joy we claim the growing light.
I'm going to play it through. Do you all know this one? Can you all play a little faster?
And widening view, the larger freedom here is which can be all unfold.
brother that wrote that hymn. Henry Longfellow, the poet. This is his brother Samuel, who organized the hymnal that was used in the 19th century. And now it's the time, the story for all ages.
Hello, everyone. I am Allison Faber, and I use she, her pronouns. I want to first thank everybody for allowing me to have July off. And when I thank you for this, I mean really, really thank you for the boundaries of allowing somebody to go off for a month without emails to really rest and recharge. That's really, really special in our world, and I really appreciate it. So today, the story for all ages is going to be a little bit different. Today we're talking about the fifth principle, which is all about the democratic process. What the heck is the democratic process? What's another word for that? Voting, democracy. Well, today in RE, we're going to talk about voting and what that means and why we do it. So today, we are going to vote for the story we read in RE as our time for all ages. So we have 4 options here. The first is called Equality's Call, the story of voting rights in America. And you can also see the covers on the screen up there as well. So this is all about how more and more and more people gained the right to vote through really hard work, even when people told them no, over and over. So this is Equality's Call. I wonder what that might teach us about voting in the democratic process. The next option is called If You Go With Your Goat to Vote. Do goats vote? Well, let's see if they vote. They might. This is all about the process of voting. So when you show up, what do you actually do? You know, the first time when you turn 18 and you vote for the first time, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. If you don't know what to do, you walk in and there's all these tables and sometimes it gets overwhelming. So this book is designed to help you walk through how to vote. So that's our second option. Our third option is Amelia Bedelia's First Vote. Has anybody read an Amelia Bedelia book before? Oh, I see hands. Amelia Bedelia is now, she used to be like a nanny in earlier versions, but today she is a little girl and she's very silly and she gets into all sorts of hijinks. And this is about her first vote in her classroom and how that works. And she tries to get the votes of other people, and it's kind of silly and fun. And our final option is, you can't see it here, but you can see it up there. Vote for me. And if you'll notice, there's a donkey and an elephant fighting on the front page. This is all about how people will do just about anything to get into office. And what can you do about that? Can you do anything? So this is a really, really silly book. It's funny and it has a twist at the end. So, after hearing about all of our choices, do we know what's inside all of these books? Word for word, do we know everything about these books? No, we kind of have to go on what we know. Sometimes that works, sometimes there's problems with it, but we do the best we can. So, by show of hands, or if you feel led, you can shout your choice. Who would like to read Equality's Call in RE today? Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, Rory, I love that one too. Thank you. What's next? If You Go With Your Goat to Vote. Oh, good showing. And we are allowing you to vote twice today. Amelia Bedelia's First Vote. Ooh, nice. Oh, Pam's back here. And finally, Vote for Me. Nice. So, you know what? The vote is pretty close. I think Equality's call won. But you know what? We might just do sort of a ranked vote thing and do if you go with your goat to vote too. So all of the kiddos who want to join me out in RE today to read what we voted on as a congregation, then join me in singing This Little Light of Mine, and we'll head out.
Today's reading is by John Quincy Adams. You all know who he was, right? If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. So we take this time to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. Please remember that our service is being recorded, so please adjust your messages accordingly because they can be seen by the public. Would anyone like to come up to the mic and express a joy or sorrow?
Today marks 1 year since my stepmother passed away, and my father has since, in her absence, moved to town, and he is now living here in Bryan, which is wonderful to have him here. But for all those who have lost, and for all the loss that we've all felt, this is one of those days. So I like this for that.
Anyone else? I have 2 joys. One is that I was able to celebrate my daughter's 26th birthday yesterday with my other daughters. The 3 of us were in Austin, and we did some projects and had bottomless mimosas, so that was fun. And then I also have the joy of celebrating my 40th wedding anniversary next weekend. So it's been a long time.
I have a joy. Kansas. We'll light another candle for all the joys and sorrows that are unspoken in our community, and we hold you all in our hearts. Now is a time in our service where we get in touch with the wise silence, as Ralph Waldo said. Have a moment of silence where you can talk to God as you know God, or just listen to your inner wisdom. We're going to end our moment of silence with Psalm number 1 from the Christian Bible. Blessed are the man and the woman who have grown beyond their greed and have put an end to their hatred and no longer nourish illusions. But they delight in the way things are and keep their hearts open day and night. They are like trees planted near flowing rivers, which bear fruit when they are ready. Their leaves will not fall or wither. Everything they do will succeed. So today's sermon is on the 5th principle. Anybody know what it is? Just remember the word democracy. That'll get you by. if you have trouble remembering. But our fifth principle states that we affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. What does that mean? Well, the one thing about Unitarian Universalism is that we come from two distinct faith traditions that are very American in our heritage. They are so American that we are democratic, and each church has its own polity. That means we get to make our own decisions. We decide what we believe. We decide what we do in our church. And we have an association, kind of like the states, where each congregation is associated with each other in the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association. But we don't have to. We don't have to do anything. We don't want to. But we encourage and promote the idea of democracy, that everybody has a voice. We already believe in the first principle, which is inherent worth and dignity of every person. Second, excellent, right on. Okay, third.
Can you repeat that, please? The second?
Repeat it for the people who couldn't hear.
I'm sorry, can you say it again? Sorry.
Justice, dignity, and compassion in human relations.
Justice, dignity, and compassion in human relations. That's the second one. Number 3. What?
We should have the kids here, they will.
You guys, you can look at the front of the hymnal too. I'm just telling you. The reason why I'm quizzing you is because we're going to have a game show and you're going to want to know these things. And also because, you know, I put together a sermon every week and I've been doing this for now 5 weeks with a different principle every week. You got it, Emily?
Acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth.
Yeah, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. Number 4 was just last week.
Search for truth and meaning.
Yes, search for truth and meaning. Awesome. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. You know, once we get to the 8th principle, you're going to feel so Unitarian, Universalist. It's amazing. So, the right of conscience, what does that mean? What's your conscience? Anybody have an opinion about that? That small voice inside you that says, yeah, you're doing a good job, or you're a good person, or you're making the right decisions in your life. And sometimes your inner voice, your conscience, makes you stand against what everyone else is doing. Has that ever happened to you? If you're a Unitarian Universalist, I kind of assume that it's happened to you quite a few times. We tend to follow our own hearts. That's why you're here, is you followed your own heart. And we actually promote and encourage that behavior. In a democracy, the people who designed democracy, the founding fathers, they were really into the Enlightenment. They were really into John Locke, and they were also, a lot of them, deists, Unitarians, Universalists. A lot of these people. And they believe that people are strong and they have good intentions and that the world can be a better place and that government could serve the people. This is a radical idea, was it not? We've only had 4 actual Unitarian presidents. There's 2 that you could say are kind of on the fence of Unitarianism, and quite a few deists, which, you know, basically they think that God made the world and was like a clockmaker and set the clock and got the clock going, and then he stayed out of it, or they stayed out of it. That's a deist, like George Washington. They weren't necessarily into the idea that Jesus was divine. A lot of the early Unitarians, the Congregationalists, a lot of them did not feel that Jesus was anything but the best man that had ever lived, and that they wanted to emulate him as a man and not as a god. So that's a pretty cool idea, and a lot of our Unitarian presidents were like that. So does anybody know who the Unitarian presidents were? Well, Jefferson, he's complicated. Yeah. He wrote in some of his private papers that he was, but he was Episcopal. He's Anglican in his church membership. So he never joined a Unitarian church, but he hung out a lot with Benjamin Rush, who was a Universalist, who signed the Declaration of Independence, Benjamin Rush. And he was a Universalist. So he also was really, really influenced by Joseph Priestley. And Joseph Priestley started the UU Church in Philadelphia. He's also the guy who identified oxygen. And he was originally in England as a Unitarian, but he got his laboratory burnt to the ground. And so he moved to America, which was a good move on his part. But he wrote a lot of influential writings about Unitarianism that got a lot of people interested in it, including Jefferson. Jefferson made his own Bible, y'all. He just took all the miracles out, all the supernatural parts out, and just had what Jesus said and what Jesus did. That's it. You can buy it if you want to look it up. Jeffersonian Bible. If you go to his house in Monticello, they show you it. It's cool. So you're sort of right. He's one of the ones on the fence. Obama, who was raised Unitarian, also would be on the fence. So there's 4 more that actually said, yes, I'm a Unitarian. Adams, yes. Which one? John Quincy was later a Unitarian, but to rebel against his Unitarian parents when he was younger, he was much more interested in being a Congregationalist. But by the time he died, he was totally a Unitarian. His dad, however, was a Unitarian 70 years before the term was invented. So we're going to talk about them. Who else? Anybody? No? Nope. He's a deist. Two guys that are known as being kind of terrible presidents were Unitarians. One of them was very large. That helps. Nope. Millard Fillmore. He was a Methodist when he was born, and then he became a Unitarian later in life. I'll talk about him. He was president during the Missouri Compromise, 1850, that period of time. He tried to keep the Civil War from happening, but he wasn't kind of a terrible president. What he's mostly known for is that he, even though he was anti-slavery, he allowed the North to help with the Fugitive Slave Act. He helped people, he had the government enforce the Fugitive Slave Act, so nobody liked him. He's also the last Whig president. He got voted out by his own party, so he only was president after Zachary Taylor died. And he was a lawyer. Other cool things about Millard Fillmore. He was born in a log cabin in New York, had no money. There were 3 books in his house. His father was a farmer. 3 books. Had to teach himself to read. Finally got to go to school. He wanted to be a lawyer eventually. He was apprenticed for a while when he was a kid, and went, I don't want to work this hard, and I want to read. So he got himself a dictionary, and while he was working in the Carter's place, he was a textile worker, he would read the dictionary, 1 word a day. So he's very like Abraham Lincoln in that way. He's kind of a self-made man. And he went to school, fell in love with his teacher, married his teacher. That's cool. So that's Millard Fillmore. When the Whigs threw him out, basically. He didn't want to become a Republican. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do. Then he ran again for the Know Nothing Party. Do y'all know what that was? It was a nativist party. First he was an anti-Mason person. And then he got involved with the Know Nothings. And the Know Nothings are like no immigrants. They were nativists. You know, we have these histories that we don't talk about, but they've been there since the very beginning. So basically, I'm going to give you my opinion because it's a free pulpit, okay? They were pinheads who thought that only white men should have power, basically. You should find out about them because it's real interesting, but he ran for them, and the good thing is the American people, only 20% voted for them. So he's gone. The other person that I want to talk to you about is really important as a Unitarian. His parents were Unitarians. He grew up Unitarian. He was also President of the United States and the Supreme Court Justice. Do y'all know who it is? He was also the Vice President of the AUA, which is the forerunner of the UUA. Before we joined with the Universalists, we were called the AUA. And this guy ran the Unitarians in the early 1900s. He pretty much ran them. In fact, his name was William Howard Taft. Did y'all know that? No, he's really cool. So William Howard Taft was also a lawyer. He was from Cincinnati. And he grew up in the Unitarian Church. He was always a Unitarian. I like him a lot because he actually said so. So here's some quotes from William Howard Taft. I'm going to talk about him the most because John Adams mostly people know. Unitarians feel the life of Jesus as a man is more helpful to them as a religious inspiration than if he is to be regarded as God in human form. Now imagine that this guy is running for office and he has to tell people that he's a Unitarian. A lot of people to try to keep him from getting elected said he was atheist. And he would defend himself by saying, yeah, I'm a Unitarian, here's what it means. So he said, Unitarianism offers a broad Christian religious faith that can be reconciled with scientific freedom of thought and inquiry into the truth. Pretty awesome. Now, was he a great president? No. The reason why he wasn't a great president is because he didn't want to be president. His wife wanted him to be president. He wanted to be Supreme Court Justice, which he eventually got to be. When he was running the AUA, it was during World War I. And many of the ministers were pacifists and were talking from the pulpit because that's the American way. If we talk about the Revolutionary War, the preachers were up there talking about it. Everybody was talking about it. In fact, some of the preachers, the guy who started Princeton, his name was Witherspoon. He was a minister, and he was up preaching in his robe, in his teaching robe, and he starts preaching about how it's a God-given right that we should fight against tyranny. And then he tears his preacher robe off, and he's in his Continental uniform. True story. Yeah. And George Washington was going to make him a chaplain, but he didn't. He made him a colonel instead. So he's buried in the graveyard at Princeton, right? Yeah. Anyway, interesting people in the history that we don't know about. So John Adams was a Unitarian way before. He grew up in outside of Boston. It's what's called Braintree, but now it's called Quincy. You can go there. If you go to the church that he paid for in his old age, it's right across from the city building in Quincy, Massachusetts. And it's a big, very colonial looking building with big columns and stuff. And so if you go in there to a service, they say, oh, do you want to see the presidents? And I go, yeah, I want to see the presidents. You go down in the basement, and there are the mausoleums for John Adams, his wife Abigail, who's very feminist and cool, Phoebe, and John Quincy. They're all four little graves are there. We're right next to Artie in the basement of that church. So other things that you might want to realize, that a lot of concepts in democracy come from Unitarian ideas. The separation of church and state, which is so vital. The belief that we have inherent worth and dignity, that's been there since the very beginning. The belief not in original sin. We don't believe in that. That's inherent in the Declaration of Independence. All this stuff is right there. That's why we affirm and promote it. That's why it's so important. Now, as years went by, and we start moving in, like if you study William Howard Taft, he's really interesting because he lived all over the world as a representative of the United States, in the Philippines and in Japan. And they did important things he held his ground as democracy was being promoted around the world. We see this happen over and over and over again. The idea that every person should have a vote, that more and more people have a vote. Because when they started out, like these guys who were talking about America as democracy, as something that you can go back to the Constitution. If we go back to the Constitution, only white men that own property and are English can vote. Y'all, we have to stand up to that and spend a little time getting to know what actually has happened in our country if we're going to be all right. I hope that this wasn't too boring and too specific, but you kind of have to look at the different presidents. If you want to, there is a site, PBS site, that has each president's religious beliefs. It's kind of interesting, but if you want to know what really happened, you have to start digging a little deeper. I would definitely look into William Howard Taft and into John Adams and John Quincy Adams. They're real interesting people. So the last thing about William Howard Taft is when he was the vice president of the AUA, he really went after those ministers that were pacifists and got them kicked out. Got them thrown out of being Unitarian ministers. That's kind of a drag. So he made sure that the church supported World War I. So there's a lot of things like that we have to talk about occasionally where I'm not proud of our history, but we do have 4 presidents, and it's good that you should know who they are. Thanks for listening to me today.
Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering each week with an important nonprofit organization with which we work. This month, we are proud to support Just Texas. It's a grassroots movement of people of faith and faith leaders in support of reproductive freedom and the LGBTQ equality for all Texans. We are a Just Texas congregation. Please be as generous as you can.
We're going to take up an offering now, but we're also going to sing, and the hymn that we're singing is number 360. Here we have gathered. 359.
360.
Okay. You can even play a little better.
We have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find that kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together, this our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, called to celebrate. Days of our lifetime, better small and great. Women, children, infants and sages, sharing what we can. Sing out together, this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret. But in the shadows, let us not forget. We will never, though each other's pain. Christ can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now in passion, this our heart's own song.
We give thanks for these gifts we have given, for those we receive, and for each other. May your generosity go out into the world tenfold. And now it's time to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
Before I let you go, I'm going to sing a verse of a very American song that I really love called This Land Is Your Land. If you all want to sing with me, that would be great. I encourage you to follow this principle to your utmost and follow your conscience and vote. The worst thing we can do is despair. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps through the sparkling sand Blessings on y'all. Go in peace.